if you can get it from the first slide. And I'm here to tell you a story. So it was my sophomore year in high school, and I had world history class, an AP world history class, so this was a very difficult class. And I walked in one Tuesday morning, and my favorite teacher, Mr. Ouellette, was explaining the conquest of Persia. And while we were discussing this topic, I asked him, Mr. Ouellette, why do people conquer different areas? What is this innate need to conquer different lands, and why do we do it? And he told me that essentially it's the theory of us versus them. And in the beginning, I thought Mr. Ouellette was just gaslighting me, giving me just a random answer just to get me off his tail. And little did I know that it would change my perspective on the reason we do things, the way we act, for pretty much the rest of my life. So this brings me into the psychology behind us versus them. I was fascinated since he told me about human behavior. I wanted to understand why we do the things we do. Is it a sort of kind of free will, or are we just mentally programmed to do what we engage in and how we socially interact with each other? Turns out it has some type of effect on the way we interact. Our brains do have a certain type of wiring. So let's go into what is us versus them, why we think this way, the psychology behind it, how does it affect us right now, and if we can possibly fix it. So the beginning is, what is us versus them? Very simply, it's you versus something else, whether it be an idea, a goal, a group of people, a political ideology. It could be pretty much anything, but it has to be two different things that possibly don't understand each other. But really, we're not all innately racist or misogynistic or whatever bad word you'd probably put in there, right? It's a fill in the blank type of thing. But we all are human. We all have a brain. And so it makes you wonder, like, don't you think that way? Like sometimes when you encounter something new, you're not so sure. You're nervous, your heart starts pumping, you just have no idea what you're gonna do the next step. You start freaking out, that's normal. But it can be seen in past shows of us versus them, like racism and segregation. It could be seen in homophobic, like displays. It could even be seen all the way in the ADs in the conquest of the Roman Empire. So why do we act this way? Like I said, we're not innately bad, but back then, when we were little cavemen, we were hunter and gatherers. So essentially, we had to figure out where our next meal was gonna come, and cavemen needed to know what was predator and what was prey. And so, back then, we had the development of the amygdala. And the amygdala is going to be right here. I believe my next slide circles it. Yes. And so the amygdala essentially sees the information and it goes, holy geez, you know, wow, that's something new and I don't know what it is and I want to kill it. And so we use this information, and essentially for them it was like, that's a bear, I'm going to eat it. But for us, it's different. It's like, oh, she has a head wrap on. I don't get it. So what is it? I don't get it. I should freak out now. But we luckily also have the prefrontal cortex. The prefrontal cortex is your more calm, logical friend, and will tell you, no, she wears a head wrap because she has a different religion than you. Do not freak out. So we use this, and they conflict with each other. This video was supposed to be, was to show you that the amygdala right here and right here, they come in sets of two. They light up first, and then almost immediately, our brain has a response in the prefrontal cortex to be like, hey, relax. So why does this even matter? You know, we all have brains, this is just something natural, why should I care? Very simple, is that we are seeing an increase in conflict in our society. Or at least I don't know what your political opinions are, but I have noticed a big divide in at least the way we present ourselves, not only politically, but socially. When I started reading this article from Shrink Tank, which is essentially written by psychologists, they mentioned Charlottesville, and I was like, wow, what does that have to even do with psychology? And Us versus Them was brought again, and it brought me back to my teacher. So essentially, if you don't know what Charlottesville was, it's when people in Charlottesville decided to have a uprising against the taking down a political statue of Robert E. Lee, which was a Confederate. There was a whole thing going on, and there was like danger, and people got hurt. It was awful. And I thought, why not just go deeper into this? And then you realize the divide is true. Statistics prove it. By the US Department of Justice, you can see that there's been a rise in hate crime. I did the math with the numbers, got an average, and it seems like in a general altogether type of thing, it was a whole 23% increase in hate crime from the 2016 to 2017. Do with that information what you will. What changed? I have no idea. Maybe it's because we've got a different sheriff in town. So how can we possibly fix this? It's simply we have to begin to understand. We have to understand each other. And know that although, yes, we are programmed a certain way to want to defeat each other and take over each other's land, it is not the only way we can coincide together. And I'm not a hippie peace type of person, right? I'm just a realist, and what we have going on these days is just pretty much awful. We're losing lives. And that's beyond you, me, race, color, sexual orientation, whatever. And what Mr. Oled said was right. There is an us versus them. There will always be an us versus them. The moment we run out of a them, we'll start turning on us. And that's what we've been doing. Thank you so, so much.